Philosophy of Service, an approach to human development in India and the problems of our working class. Part 5 audiobook. Human development, the importance of non economic factors. I have to emphasize this point that till now, most of the labor movement in India has been concerned only with the economic aspect of human relations in industry and business. How to increase the purchasing power of the working classes, how to secure for them more salary, more wages. Certainly, this is a very important thing to do, but unless it is treated only as a part and not as the whole of the philosophy and program of human development, and unless the importance of non economic factors are recognized and given their due place, it will defeat its own purpose. In our nation and development, let us begin to ask this question and try to find the answer. Can human development be ensured only by money and more money? If a worker till now earning 100 rupees a month earns 300 rupees from now, is he or she automatically a better human being? We have rarely asked this question. This question must be asked by us from now on in the context of the profound need of achieving so far as man is concerned, along with economic strength, cultural strength as well, that alone can bring quality to human life. Quantity can be had by adding money. One may have plenty of money in his or her pocket, but how does one use that money? How can one make financial resources, small or big, achieve human development and fulfillment? That cannot be unless the cultural level of the person is also raised. While at Karachi during the Second World War years, I have personally seen the difference that the presence or absence of the culture factor can make to the quality or otherwise in a man's life. I witnessed a qualitative richness in the life of our Ramakrishna Mission tribal school teacher getting less salary side by side with the dismal life of the tribal people around him getting almost double his salary. We have not so far considered this point in our country in the modern period with respect to our working class. I wish to stress this point because I have observed the lack of appreciation of this, particularly after independence, the constant and sole emphasis on the monetary side and the economic aspect, and the neglect of the other more significant aspects of human development. Wage and salary increase is only one of the items of human development. Call it the primary one in a country of mass poverty such as ours, but not the sole item. In his recent book, Gandhi's Social Philosophy, Professor B.N. Ganguly quotes two citations from letters on historical materialism by the great Marxist thinker Friedrich Engels, which are relevant in this connection. Marx and I are ourselves partly to blame for the fact that the younger people sometimes lay more stress on the economic side than is due to it. We had to emphasize the main principle vis a vis our adversaries who denied it. We had not always the time, the place, or the opportunity to give their due to the other elements involved in the interaction. While emphasizing the fundamental process of interaction between the base and the superstructure, Engels says political, juridical, philosophical, religious, literary, artistic, etc. Development is based on economic development, but all these react upon one another and also upon the economic basis. It is not that the economic situation is cause solely active, while everything else is only passive effect. There is rather interaction on the basis of economic necessity, which ultimately asserts itself. Men make their history themselves. Only they do so in a given environment which conditions it. In this connection, I wish to mention that when I go round our country and address gatherings in our public sector undertakings and discuss working class problems with their managers and other concerned people, I find that we have labor today earning anything from 300 to Rs 1000 a month. But if you ask this question whether, correspondingly, the cultural life of the particular laborer or his group in general has improved, you get largely only a sorry answer. More money is coming into the pockets of the workers, but much of that money is wasted. There is no corresponding increase in their quality of life. Cleaner home, better hygienic, personal and environmental, better care of children, better standards of nutrition, happier human relatives within the family, finer cultural pursuits, and more investment of money in the mental sphere of the life. In the sphere of environmental hygiene, our classes as much as our masses, educated as much as our illiterate citizens, stand in need of urgent upgrading, stand in need of being taught that using public roads, railway tracks, and open maidans as public toilets is uncivilized as much as unhygienic. These things do not come automatically merely by raising the salary or wages of the individual worker. That is where there is urgent need for our trade union movement to orient itself and its activities to this philosophy of total human development and make special efforts to bring about the cultural enrichment of our working people. In addition to their economic advancement by collective bargaining, the working class can certainly gain more of wages and salaries. That is beautiful. That is the first object of a trade union or any other working class group. But it should be treated as a prelude to the other aspects of human development, which we have largely neglected for decades together. Among these aspects, the most important is the raising of the human cultural level, which alone results in the qualitative enrichment of human life. In that context, we have to remember what I said earlier that there is a wonderful cultural legacy available to us from our religious past, which has touched and brightened the life of even the commonest people of our country. The touch has raised the quality of their life even in the context of their poverty, making them inwardly rich. Their pockets were very empty. Can we retain the uplifting and enriching touch of that old legacy in the modern period? And can we add it to it something of the new values of the modern age? This is the problem of human development in modern India, and this problem needs to be seriously considered by our people today. We may have our people holding diverse religious beliefs or political ideologies. We may have among our people those who do not choose to belong to any religion. There be some among us who may not like the very word religion, but there will be none who will not respond to the philosophy and program of total human development, of qualitative enrichment. It cuts across all political, religious, and social party divisions. When I discussed it with intellectuals in Soviet Russia or Czechoslovakia, the subject of human development as raising the quality of human life and not merely raising the salary and wage levels of workers. They readily appreciated this idea, even while being allergic to the word religion. When we speak of religion, we may have the idea of a bundle of superstitions. We may have the notion of some kind of magic and miracle and mystery, or we may associate it with the evils of a caste ridden society. All these have been associated with religion by some group or the other. But today, thanks to Swami Vivekananda and his message of Vedanta, we have the opportunity to understand religion as a science of human development, as the grand science of the inner nature of man, as the science of human possibilities, bereft of all these cheap and weakening elements, and recognize its unique contribution to the qualitative enrichment of human life. One fact about our society has struck me, and it will strike anyone who studied it. And it is that ours is the only country where, due to the influence of our past cultural legacy, nearly 80% of the people do not drink, do not feel the need for the stimulus for intoxicating beverages, whereas in all other countries it is a universal phenomenon. Here it is a peripheral social phenomenon with no prestige attached to it. Bhakti and Bhajan, the unique social contribution. How did we achieve this kind of a unique social situation in India? People increasingly resort to drink to get stimulated, to get a kick when they are tired, when they are depressed, when they feel inwardly empty. It is then that people resort to the bottled and other modern capsule forms of kick from the outside if anyone needs it and if he or she has no other way to overcome that inner privation. Let him or her have it, says the Indian tradition. After all, man must feel stimulated, must feel trim, but our spiritual teachers and guides and our people in general said that there is something else which can do this service to man and which is a pure stimulus free from the evils associated with these other ones. That is the contribution of the science of religion in its expression as bhakti and bhajan. If nothing else is available that can lift him or her up from the depths, let him or her resort to these external aids. Our Vedanta and our sages did not and do not want our people to become killjoy ascetics. They present the very nature of God, Brahman, and the very nature of man, Atman, as Ananda or Rasa, joy, Raso Vaisha. And they discover the science of it and the technique of its manifestation in man, rich or poor, learned or ignorant, man or woman. Accordingly, Sri Ramakrishna classifies all human joys into three categories: Vaishyananda, that is Ananda arising from Vijaya or sensual or organic satisfaction; Bhajanananda, that is Ananda arising from bhajana or worship of God and devotional singing of His name and glory; Brahmananda, that is Ananda arising from the experience of Brahman, from the realization of God, the one infinite self in man and nature. The first one is natural and ordinary, and man shares it with all animals. As such, it does not express the true glory of man. The third, on the other hand, is too high and rare, and beyond the easy reach of most human beings, but the second is available to all. When a man begins to appreciate the second joy of Bhajanananda, a joy welling up from within the earlier one of Vaisyananda, Vishyananda, which is also authentic and valid, and not devil made as some religious present it, begins to have less and less attraction for him. Giving up of Vishyananda is not presented by Vedanta as an end in itself. As man experiences purer and higher joys, he spontaneously and increasingly sheds his attraction for the earlier ones, just as a child sheds his attraction for toys naturally when his attraction for knowledge and books arises and grows. This is a sign of his inner spiritual growth, a growth not witnessed even in the highest of the animal species. This is the criterion of what 20th century biology calls his psychosocial evolution, which it treats as the specific field of evolution at the human stage over and the above the organic evolution of the pre-human stage. Sri Ramakrishna personified in the modern age the fullness of this twofold joy or bliss of Bhajanananda and Brahmananda. These truths about the riches hidden in the depths of the human spirit are illustrated and expounded in the lives and teachings of our innumerable lovable saints and devotees, Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Christian, Jewish, and Buddhist. They find expression in songs such as Ram Ratan Dhana, Payomani, I have found the gem of Ram in my heart, in Hindi, and Surapan Korina Ami, Sudha Khai Jai Kali Boli. I do not drink Sura or ordinary wine. I drink the Sudha or the nectar arising from singing Jai Kali, victory to Kali, as often sung by Sri Ramakrishna in Bengali, and Nidhikala Sukhama, Ramuni Sannidhi Seva Sukhama, Nijamugabalku Manasa, Nijamugabalku Manasa. Oh, my mind, tell me truly, which conduces to happiness, wealth, or the realization of Ram, as sung by Tyagaraja in Telugu. This profound truth is revealed in a silent tribute paid by the great Bengali dramatic and intellectual Girish Chandra Ghosh, himself a great devotee of the joy of the bottle. To Sri Ramakrishna, the great devotee of the joy of divine name, Sri Ramakrishna used to attend and enjoy the dramatic performances of Girish at his star theatre in Kolkata, whose actors and actresses he used to bless after the performance. One day, Girish, who had only just then known Sri Ramakrishna and had been attracted to him, but had not known anything about his spiritual greatness or the loftiness of his God intoxicated states, went to meet Sri Ramakrishna in the Dakshineshwar temple. As he entered Sri Ramakrishna's room, he found Sri Ramakrishna in an intoxicated condition. Seeing him in that inebriated state, Girish told his companion that Sri Ramakrishna seemed to have drunk a wine stronger than what he himself was accustomed to. There cannot be a truer and better tribute by the inebriation of the wine of the bottle, from the outset to the inebriation of the wine of the love of God from within. It is also the Indian national, as also the universal tribute of all Vaishyananda to Bhajnananda and Brahmananda. But Girish did not understand the true meaning of his own assessment of Sri Ramakrishna then, but he understood it fully by degrees later when he began to experience Bhajnananda himself and spontaneously gave up Vishyananda, including all drinking, without Sri Ramakrishna ever exhorting him to do so even once. It was this positive approach to what is called the drink, drug, and sex problem, and not the negative reformist approach that India has contributed to human development ages ago and that she offers to man in the modern age both in India and abroad. Bhakti and bhajan give a joy that comes from within man, giving him freedom from external dependence. And what else is freedom as defined in our Sanskrit tradition, Manu Smriti? Sarvam parvasam dukkam, sarvam atmavasam sukham, iti vidyat samasena, laksanam sukh dukhyah. All external dependence is sorrow, all self dependence is happiness. Thus, should you know in brief the nature of happiness and sorrow. To establish our people in freedom, it is necessary to show them by precept and example the way of self dependence in man's search for happiness and the stimulated for the same. The bhajan component of our bhakti tradition has served our people all these centuries as the bulwark of their spiritual freedom and as the source of their creative joy. By joining soul stirring music to bhakti or devotion to God, the bhajan technique has saved our people from over dependence on harmful external supports and kicks and made them into cultured, decent people even in the context of their worldly privations of ignorance and poverty. This is what Gandhiji referred to and popularized as Ram Nam. After a whole day's work, our working people enjoyed the singing of Ram Nam and became refreshed and reinvigorated. What a beautiful blessing! Suppose that blessing is taken away from a worker. How is he or she to remove his or her tiredness and get re stimulated and refreshed? The modernist answer is go to a bar and have a hearty drink, and then return home intoxicated and engage in brawls and quarrels, destroying the peace of the home while emptying the hard earned purse. Such modernist people would measure the progress of a city society in terms of the number of drink and sex nightclubs provided for its people. This is not certainly modern wisdom but only a modernist folly. This reveals a poor notion of progress. The frittering and wasting of hard earned wages without any human development, either within oneself or within the family, without any qualitative improvement in human life. This tragedy will not happen if culture, which is essentially an inner spiritual enrichment, is added to secular education, economic betterment, and political awakening. Search for stimulants healthy versus harmful. In our modern industrial society and in our urban context of human life, work is often humdrum, life is often dry and prosaic. Men and women need some sources of stimulation to bring poetry and joy into their lives. One such widely available source is the cinema, and now also the TV. They entertain. To that extent, they are fine, but in absence of the spiritual nourishment coming from pure religion, these can and do also degrade. To that extent, they are dubious in their contribution to human development and need to be utilized judicially. The report of the United States Federal Commission on the Causes and the Prevention of Violence in America has pointed its accusing finger at American TV. So, side by side, all this something more that can both entertain and enrich, stimulate as well as deepen human life and direct surplus human physic energy to higher levels of psychosocial evolution is necessary. That something else is and can be only pure religion, which is comprehended in what the Indian tradition terms yoga, with its myriad expressions in physical asanas, meditation, worship, prayer, japa, order, repetition of divine names, holy study, holy company, dedicated work, and bhasna. Our people had been fortified by one or other of these creative stimuli, which give them inner strength to stand firm against the vicissitudes of history, a fraction of which has destroyed many other mighty civilizations. We shall be wise to keep firm our hold on these precious legacies from our past. After removing from them all that is superstitious, all that is magical, all that smacks of exploitation, all that is awakening, we need to distill out of them, in the modern period, all that constitutes the pure spiritual nourishment of the human soul that culturally uplifts and qualitatively enriches human life and make them available to our working classes. We must take the warning from the bitter experiences of the otherwise advanced nations of the modern West that serious psychic and social distortions such as explosions, drink explosions, crime explosions, and sex explosions are inevitable and make all human development turn into human tragedies. If man is deprived of the spiritual nourishments coming from pure religion, coming from the depths of the human soul, coming from the divine spark of the Atman inherent in everyone, why are these nations rocked by all these types of explosions? Nations considered most highly developed economically, educationally, and politically. It is India's firm conviction, based on the comprehensive philosophy of life of her Upanishads and the Gita, that our philosophy of human development should strive to achieve and integrate together human development in the Abhyudaya or the external socio-economic field and human growth in the Nishrayas, Nishrayasa or the internal spiritual field. These exploitations are mutually related and to be traced to the one single source of spiritual malnutrition. The American journal Newsweek, in its issue of 24 January 1972, has published a lengthy dispatch on the problem of the rising curve of venereal diseases in the USA. Post independence India also is faced with this rising problem. According to Government of India statistics introducing the dispatch, the editor of Newsweek says, from every quarter of the nation, the statistics of flood in venereal disease in the USA is epidemic and the incidence of syphilis and gonorrhea is rising among the middle and upper classes, whose members Hitler fancied themselves above the scars. Now, the VD victims include executives, physicians, and an ever rising number of young people, particularly high school and college students. Medical men blame the three P's: permissiveness, promiscuity, and the contraceptive pill. I have studied the problems of the American working class relating to economic advancement along with cultural lag during my tours of the states. I have found the workers there well paid, and the working hours per week have also been reduced. A carpenter, a plumber, or a mason earns $10 to $12 per hour. There is also acute shortage of such skilled labor. It is difficult to procure their services for your domestic purposes. If you phone for a plumber, you often get the reply, "Oh, he is busy," or "He has gone with his wife to the Mediterranean on a cruise," or to some other faraway country on a holiday. That means they have plenty of money to spend. They can go here and there, and that is fine. But if you ask the question, what is the nature of their life? Are they really happy? Do they spend the hours taken off from working hours to improve their minds? Is there a quality to enrichment in their personal and family life? You may more often get a negative answer. Their life is certainly more exciting but not more rich, for that excitement entirely comes from the outside, while that richness has to come from within. Earlier generations had obtained a measure of their spiritual enrichment from Christianity, however narrow and circumscribed it might have been, but it is missing in the post war period. Our saints and sages have presented religion, therefore, as a science and technique for deepening the spiritual awareness of every human being. Its gifts are not from the outside but are from within man himself. It imparts to man true freedom and installs him in his true dignity. It makes man realize that his value and dignity as man are not mainly derived from the money he earns, the organic satisfaction in it yields, or the power he acquires and handles, which are all variable and alienable, but that it is derived from his intrinsic nature, from the focus of the inalienable divine nature inherent in him. Swalpamapasi dharmasi trayate mahato bhayat. Even a little realization of this invariable and inalienable truth saves one from great fear, says Sri Krishna in the second chapter of the Gita. A poor man envies a rich man envies one richer than himself. Where is human dignity and self respect in such a situation? It only provides the endemic breeding ground of human alienation with all its attendant social evils. Money is a focus of value, but man is a greater focus of value, says Vedanta. When a society overvalues money, it also devalues man. Feudal societies in the past and modern materialistic urban societies today are one in committing this serious blunder. Our poor man in India in the past has derived a sense of basic human dignity from bhakti and bhajan and the teachings of our saints. If anyone insulted him, he left his service and went away. For him, his dignity and self respect were more valuable than his wages. But in our money centered urban society of today, we find both the poor and the well to do tending to become increasingly bereft of the sense of honor and self respect, exhibiting meanness in interhuman relations, and thus eroding the cement of mutual trust that integrates man and man with woman in an ordered society and family. This is the difference that the presence or absence of the nourishment and stimulus of pure religion makes in the human situation. Need for a national re education. We see that in the modern age, in spite of economic upliftment, in spite of technological excitements, there is much human stress and strain and suffering, alienation, tension, and suicide. We don't want to convert our homes and our society in India into well furnished citadels of such human unfulfillments. We want our homes and our society to be suffused with the human values of love, peace, and joy. This kind of qualitative enrichment of human life can never come merely by increase of income, by increase of political awareness, by wide diffusion of secular education. These are all necessary but not sufficient. Here is a profound truth. about man which challenges us and our wisdom today. Recognition of this truth will give us a much needed national re education. The West is already showing us the stirrings of such a re education, and that too from our own sources. It is seeking to nourish itself spiritually from the rich Indian inheritance of her past and present. The contemporary spontaneous Western response to authentic Indian spiritual techniques of meditation, bhakti, and bhajan, which I have experienced everywhere abroad, must make our people rethink our concepts and programs of human development in our own country. Busy people in the modern West, intellectuals, housewives, workers, students, or teachers, long for the spiritual long for the spiritual nourishment. They demonstrate once again the truth which our people have found demonstrated again and again, that bhakti and bhajan are to be preferred to drink, drug, and unrestrained sex as sources of creative relations and joys. Through the former, one becomes richer inside without becoming poorer externally. Through the latter, one becomes poorer in the soul as well as in the purse. This is unfortunately what is happening in post independence India and creating great problems for our infant democracy. The price we shall be called upon to pay for this neglect of cultural refinement and qualitative enrichment of human life in a context of expanding economic opportunities is going to be heavy. Since independence, there has been a galloping of the drink evil in our country, along with bribery, corruption, and other corollaries. The explosions rocking Western society are not very far away from our society also. Discerning thinkers and patriots in the nation are becoming slowly aware of the seriousness of this problem. And I am happy to find that our working classes themselves have begun to recognize the drink evil as their enemy working against their cultural uplift. They are voicing through their trade union organizations their protest against opening new liquor shops close to their factories and demanding closing of the existing ones on paid days. They are realizing the havoc and ruin their work on their individual and family welfare. They need to be helped to achieve a rise in their standard of life corresponding to the rise in their standard of earning. The opposite of this is human folly leading to human tragedy. That kind of self cancelling progress has to be reversed because our people, though poor, have some notion of their inherent spiritual nature. Long centuries of poverty did not destroy their spiritual spirit. Poverty did not make them into economic commodities to be purchased for a few pice or rupees. The two foci of human dignity and equality. It is true that God or the ballot paper has no meaning for a starving man. Religion is not for empty bellies, is a saying by Sri Ramakrishna himself. The only form in which God can come to a hungry man is in the form of food, adds Swami Vivekananda, his disciple. To this, we have to add now that politics and the ballot paper also have no meaning for an empty belly. But today, during our elections, we are witnessing not only our poor, but even our middle income groups offering themselves and their precious democratic political franchise as commodities to be sold for 5 or 10 rupees to the political candidates or parties concerned, whom they want also to transport them free to the polling booths. And the candidates and parties also, on their part, encourage all these. Why? Because our people have not been educated to attach that value to themselves as citizens and to the two forces of their dignity and equality, namely the ballot paper in the hand, which is the external political focus, and the human soul within, which is the internal spiritual focus which they attach to the money which they get as commodities. Where is the democracy and human dignity in all these? These certainly are not an index of human development but of human degradation. Is it not the greatest blot on a society, especially on a democratic society, that such human devaluation and money overvaluation is allowed to take place? But it is happening in our country, which we are proud to call the largest democratic state in the world. And it will continue and worsen until we wake up and begin to emphasize and stress in our educational, social, and political processes that human dignity proceeds not from the pocket but from the soul, from man's inalienable divine nature. That is the meaning of the Vedantic mantra Shivoham or Mukto Ham or Buddhoham. I am the good, or I am the free, or I am the awakened. Thus, we see that through this Vedantic message, even the poorest will capture a sense of human dignity, a sense of human worth, which nobody can alienate, sell, or purchase. If money becomes the central criterion of human value, then the poor shall always be striving to get more money, shall be always either covering before the rich or seeking opportunities to rob them individually or rise and revolt collectively. And the rich shall always be looking down upon the poor or protecting themselves with counter revolutionary measures. But there is another focus of value which all rich and poor alike have as their inalienable personality constant. Just like the political ballot paper which the rich and poor alike have in their hands in a democracy, and that is what Vedanta calls the intrinsic divine nature of man, the Atman. The Prime Minister has just one ballot rich sorry. The Prime Minister has just one ballot paper. The wage earner also has just one ballot paper. The rich man has also one. The poor also has one. That is called equality in a democracy. No one in a democracy has more than one or less than one. Each or have each one have an integral political value. This is the political equality and sovereignty of man in a democracy, corresponding to his spiritual equality and sovereignty as the Atman, integral and whole. That political equality soon becomes a sham and a joke if it is not sustained by that spiritual equality. There is no better and more inspiring song of democratic equality than what Sri Krishna sings in the Gita. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tistatam parameshwaram. विनाशत्य विनाशयन्तं यः पास्यति स पास्यति. He who sees the Supreme Lord existing equally in all beings, imperishable in those that perish, he indeed sees. Samam pasyan hi sarvatra, samavasti tamiswaram, na hina hinasya manatmanam tato yati param gatim. Seeing the one Lord equally existing everywhere as the one self in all, he does not injure the self by the self and thus attains the highest state. Practical Vedanta. Swami Vivekananda always stressed this Vedantic approach to human development. In his speech on Vedanta in its application to Indian life, referred to earlier, he said complete works of Swami Vivekananda, Advaita Ashrama. These conceptions of the Vedanta must come out, must remain not only in the forest, not only in the cave, but they must come out to work at the bar and the bench, in the pulpit and in the quarters of the poor men, with the fishermen that are catching fish and with the students that are studying. They call to every man, woman, and child, whatever be their occupation, wherever they may be, and what is there to fear? How can the fisherman and all these carry out the ideals of the Upanishads? The way has been shown. It is infinite. Religion is infinite. None can go beyond it, and whatever you do sincerely is good for you. Even the least thing well done brings marvelous results. Therefore, let everyone do what little he can. If the fisherman thinks that he is the spirit, the Atman, he will be a better fisherman. If the student thinks he is the spirit, he will be a better student. If the lawyer thinks he is the spirit, he will be a better lawyer, and so on. And the result will be that the caste will remain forever. It is in the nature of society to form itself into groups, and what will go will be these privileges. Caste is a natural order. I can perform one duty in social life and you another. You can govern a country and I can mend a pair of shoes, but that is no reason why you are greater than I. For can you mend my shoes? Can I govern the country? I am clever in mending shoes. You are clever in reading the Vedas, but that is no reason why you should trample on my head. Why, if one commits murder, should he be praised? And if another steals an apple, why should he be hanged? This will have to go. Caste is good. That is the only natural way of solving life. Men must form themselves into groups, and you cannot get rid of that. Wherever you go, there will be caste, but that does not mean that there should be these privileges. They should be knocked on the head. If you teach Vedanta to the fisherman, he will say, I'm as good a man as you. I'm a fisherman. You are a philosopher, but I have the same God in me as you have in you. And that is what we want. No privilege for anyone, equal chances for all. Let everyone be taught that the divine is within, and everyone will work out his own salvation. Liberty is the first condition of growth. It is wrong, a thousand times wrong. If any one of you dares to say, I will work out the salvation of this woman or child, bring all light into the world. Let light come unto everyone. The task will not be finished till everyone has reached the Lord. Bring light to the poor, and bring more light to the rich, for they require it more than the poor. Bring light to the ignorant, and more light to the educated, for the vanities of the education of our time are tremendous. When I work under somebody for a ways, I temporarily place my body at his disposal in order to seek sustenance, sustenance for my body and soul. That sustenance of the soul comes only through all such work done in a spirit of dedication and service in a context of dignity and freedom. If I do that work only for the sustenance of the body, it becomes slavery. It becomes the negation of human dignity. This is what is expressed in the famous song of the saint poet Ram Prasad, which Sri Ramakrishna loved to sing. Ami Deha Beke Bhaver, Hate Sri Durganam, Kine Enisi. Selling my body in the marketplace of the world, I have bought and brought Mother Durga's name. This kind of understanding must come to our people in a big way today, through whatever source it may be, through literature, through art, through music, through religion. This sense of human dignity must come to all in our country, and especially to our working classes. Then only will the millions and millions of our people be able to rise to the full stature of citizenship in our democracy. Then only will our largest democracy become also transformed into the greatest democracy. Human development as Atma Vikasa. It is such an awakened working class that can really become a tremendous strength to the new process we are introducing in our industries, namely labor participation in management. Such a step calls for the rising of dignity and self respect and freedom in our working people. Working people, such people are taken into the management. The management becomes strengthened. It becomes a responsible management and efficient management, keeping national interest and not mere sectional interest in view. It is this kind of human development, human maturity, that we need to achieve in the millions of our working people. This calls for combining secular and political education with spiritual education. By spiritual education is not mean education in the creeds or dogmas of a religion. Spiritual education is education for spiritual growth, like education for the other two types of growth, namely physical and mental. All the three constitutes the fullest human development, Atma Vikas. If economic development only is stressed, we get some sort of physical nourishment and physical growth. If secular and political education only is stressed, we get intellectual nourishment and mental growth. These two constitute only partial and not full development of man. Such partial development may achieve good results in the short run but will become counterproductive in the long run. It will result in quantitative enrichment along with a qualitative impoverishment. That will be a tragedy which we should not allow in India, but which is already being experienced by many countries abroad. We have the wisdom given to us by our great philosophers and saints, both ancient and modern, which can help us to avert the tragedy. We have our modern teachers like Vivekananda, Gandhiji, and others who showed us the Indian approach to human development and to the raising of our common people. This is the keynote guidance contained in one of the letters of Vivekananda from America, already quoted earlier. Keep the motto before you, elevation of the masses without injuring their religion. If we take away that historically acquired spiritual asset from our people in the name of human development, we will convert our nation into a mess of human problems, with more physical energy made available through nourishing food and intellectual energy through education, but no cultural refinement through spiritual nourishment. We can expect only more tensions and violence in our society, requiring more governments, more laws, and more laws of true freedom. A free, self regulating, egalitarian, and peaceful society will emerge only when a little ethical and spiritual value will spontaneously, spontaneously rise from the depth of the human spirit and irrigate man's personal and social life. And we have the mothers provided in our rich spiritual tradition by which to evoke these values in all human beings. That is why I have become convinced about the importance of pure religion for human development after going round various parts of India and abroad. Along with all the measures that we are taking to increase the economic strength and raise the political awareness of our working classes, we must also take all necessary steps to raise their cultural level and increase their spiritual strength. By this alone, will they, and the rest of our people as well, achieve happiness and fulfillment and become a source of strength to the nation. And I have every hope that since we have available to us, as I said before, not only the wisdom of our past, but also the re authentication and reinforcement of that wisdom by gigantic spiritual personalities in the modern period, we shall achieve a high measure of total human development in our country in the coming decades. We have to treat our country as a mighty anthropological laboratory for experimenting on total human development for a seventh of the human race. That is how Swami Vivekananda looked upon modern India. That is how Mahatma Gandhi dealt with our great country. If we have that idol constantly before us, then whatever we do in the fields of labor management, industry, or business will have one overriding purpose, namely this purpose of human development. This aim of enthroning man in India on the pedestal of his true dignity and glory as Amritasya Putra, child of immorality, as our Upanishads proudly proclaim. Conclusion. I have no doubt that such an effort will be slowly initiated in India when more of our people will understand and appreciate the Indian way to human development. We shall have to cease following any other nation's path to human development, even while learning what other nations have to teach us on this subject. The example and inspiration of such an India to the rest of the world is going to be tremendous, and we shall repay in ample measure our debt to the world for what it has given us. All this is only hope of the future, but we have to keep that hope in view. That very hope will give light to our minds, strength to our hearts, and steadiness to our feet. That hope cannot find a better expression, and this talk cannot find a more fitting conclusion than in the following exhortation of Swami Vivekananda made in the course of his lecture on the mission of the Vedanta delivered in Kumbakonam in 1897. Teach yourselves, teach everyone his real nature. Call upon the sleeping soul and see how it awakes. Power will come, glory will come, goodness will come, purity will come, and everything that is excellent will come when this sleeping soul of man is rose to self conscious activity. Thank you.